Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of Dogman Stories, episode 8. Tonight I got a special treat for you guys. I know here lately we've been doing one story a show, but tonight I've got 3 different encounters I'd like to share with you. Our first encounter comes from Fernando out of California. It's what I like to call encounter from a distance. It was the winter of 1991 in Muscoy City, California. I was at my granny's house for the night. My aunts were also there. We were all sitting around in the back room talking around 1 a.m. in the morning, and the heat was cooking us. But you know grandmas, don't touch that thermostat. So I opened up the window. This window was a big window with no blinds, just curtains that were all the way around the window frame. No one lived near us, so blinds weren't a necessity. No one could see us, so we thought anyway. I sat back down and began a conversation with my aunts. All of a sudden, there was this gut-wrenching growl that made the hair on my neck stand up and put the fear of God in me. Scared something would come through the window, I got up and closed the window real quick. I went and sat back down, and my aunts and I just looked at each other. They were creeped out too. About a minute later, we heard a howl that sounded to be down the road. I never heard or saw anything around my granny's again. A few weeks ago, around 5 o'clock in the morning, I was getting ready to go to work. I went out my front door and locked it, turned around to go down the steps, and I heard a gut-wrenching growl. The same growl I had heard 20 years ago at my granny's. It was pitch dark. I could not see anything, not knowing where the growling was coming from, except for it was close. Too close for comfort. I had to get to my car and get the hell out of there. I made a run for it, hitting the unlock button while I was still on the porch. I made it to the car and jumped in and locked the doors and hauled ass out of there. It scared me to death. I believe it was the same creature that had growled at the window 20 years ago. I hope I never find out, and it never comes back. I leave at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's always pitch black. Every time I go to the car now for work, I'm very nervous, and I haul ass. Never seeing the creature that growled at me. Both times, I can't be 100% certain to what it was, but I strongly believe I encountered a dogman. Well, Fernando, you might be right. My encounter was the same way. I didn't see it, but somebody else did. And by the way you're describing the howling and the growling, I'd say you're probably right. I think you may have just encountered a dogman, not once, but twice. And I'm glad you're here to be able to tell us your story. On many accounts, when dogmen are near homes in neighborhoods, they eat trash out of the trash cans. So maybe it was digging through the trash and you startled it when you shut your door. It didn't attack or eat you, so it must not have been hungry. Thank goodness. Just remember, if you wanted to see the dogman, it's not really advised because some things can't be unseen. So I'd recommend that you keep it that way. And I'm glad that it didn't get you, because remember, if it wanted you, it could have got you. Unfortunately, that's how stealthy these creatures are. You can see them 1 minute, and then the next you don't, and then all of a sudden they got you. But as far as the one standing at the window, it could have been standing there when you opened the window, for all I know. That's how quick they are. They're good at being hidden. That's why they've been hidden for all these years. And as far as blending in with the surroundings, I think they're the #1 creature of doing that. So I'm glad you're here to tell us about this, Fernando. I hope you stay safe on your way to work every morning, and I hope you never encounter this creature again. Thank you for submitting your story, and good night. Next, we have an encounter I received a message from the listener. This one I'd like to call Dogman, the Party Crasher. Amanda, this story was told to me by a friend who wishes to remain anonymous. He is a minister at a local church. The location of the encounter took place in southern Michigan in the mid-1960s. However, the story was told to me in 1979. Back then, I did not believe in monsters or werewolves, also known as dogmen. They were only on TV. But prior to hearing this story, a friend and I were walking past the road that the encounter took place at. The day was August of 1977, and my friend and I were walking to the gas station to buy soda and chips. As we were passing this road, we noticed a dead deer lying off the shoulder of the road. So as kids, we wanted to get a closer look at it. As we walked up on it, the smell was overwhelming. The deer looked like it had been somewhat eaten. There was a big puddle of blood in the center of the road, so we assumed it had been hit by a big truck. The strange thing was, the head was missing, and the insides of the animal were gone. Assuming it had been fed upon by wild animals, which seemed natural, then my friend told me of this encounter, and at the time I did not put two and two together. It was years after that deer. I realized that deer may have been fed upon by the creature my friend encountered. As for the encounter, I was not there. It was told to me secondhand. I cannot confirm it or disprove it. However, my friend told me that in the 1960s he was walking down this road with his friend. They were heading to a party, and their dad had dropped them off in the intersection of the road where the party was located. It was in the evening, and it was a bright full moon, so seeing the road was no problem. The road was in the middle of nowhere, and there were woods on both sides. They got about a mile down the road, and they started hearing footsteps. They kept walking, thinking it was kids from a party trying to scare them. Getting a little bit further down the road, the footsteps continued, and then they started hearing growling sounds. They realized there must be a wild dog stalking them. My friend told his companion not to run. The dog will attack if someone runs. So they slowed their pace, and that's when they got the fright of their lives. He stated this thing stepped out of the woods onto the road about 30 feet in front of them. He said this thing was massive. It was growling and showing its teeth. At first they thought it was a costume, but back then no one could have made this. And if it was a costume, the man had to be huge, 7 feet or more. They finally realized what they were looking at, and at the moment their thoughts turned to, oh shit, this is real. The eyes blinked, and it had a yellow shine from the light of the full moon. They saw the entire thing clearly. They started to take a couple steps backwards, and the creature started taking a couple steps toward them, growling and showing its teeth. It was now or never. They took off running as fast as they could towards the highway that was close by. He said this thing sounded like a freight train crashing through the woods, coming after them. It was chasing them, and at the right moment a car was coming down the road, and the two boys almost ran into the car. A man hops out of the car and asks the boys, "What the hell y'all doing? I could have hit you." They told him a big dog was chasing them. If they would have said a werewolf was chasing them, the man may have left them to fend for themselves. The driver told the boys to get in, and as they were getting in, they heard deep growls coming from the woods. The driver heard it and looked around. Then he demanded the boys to hurry up and get into the car, as if he knew the creature was there. And then the creature let out a god-awful howl, and the driver sped away, as if he knew what had been there the entire time. The man stopped at the gas station and had the cashier call the police. They came out, took the boys' statements. The boys were sure if the man had not showed up, this thing would have killed them. The police took them home, and later on it was reported as a wild dog. But they knew better. Dogs don't walk upright, and they aren't 7 feet tall, and they do not have yellow eyes. It was a Dogman. My friend calls it a werewolf, but we all know what it is. And for the deer without a head on the same road as the encounter in the 60s, I bet it's the same creature or a family member of the creature. I'd stay off that road, at least walking on it. Well, guys, I'm sorry. That is an awesome story. And I don't mean like it's awesome them kids ran into it. I think it's awesome that that guy happened to show up right at the right time. You know, I don't know if maybe the guy seen the father let the kids out and thought he would just stay back. Maybe he knew what was there, but whatever the case, he showed up exactly at the right time, and that is a miracle in itself. And I'm glad these two boys did not get ate by the dog man. Clearly it was not a friendly dog man just checking them out, which we all know sometimes dog men are curious. I'm not sure what age. Obviously we don't get the chance to say, hey, how old are you, or look at them and see if they're juveniles. Sometimes we might see that they're juveniles, you know, and they're curious. But apparently this one wasn't curious. It was either hungry or pissed off, one or the other, because it was coming for them. But I'm glad that the boys are okay, which in this case now they would be grown men, elderly gentlemen. So if you guys are out there, I'm glad that you're okay. And thank you for submitting this story. It sounded really great. Have a great night.